If Starfield was NASA's dream of reaching the stars, The Outer Worlds 2 is what happens when Amazon Prime gets there first. Obsidian's satirical corporate dystopia returns sharper, darker, and far more self-aware. It's the kind of sequel that doesn't reinvent the formula so much as double down on what made the first one memorable. And the result is an RPG that's part philosophical playground, part sci-fi sitcom, and occasionally a slow bureaucratic nightmare that's a little too realistic for comfort. After about 60 hours with it, I walked away entertained, frustrated, and honestly quietly impressed. This is not a revolution for Obsidian by any means, but it is a statement, one that proves that a studio known for chaos and clever writing still knows how to deliver a pretty damn good single-player RPG. The Outer Worlds 2 trades the Halcyon system for Arcadia, a new cluster of planets under the same suffocating corporate grip. Capitalism has conquered the stars again, and it's still selling authentic asteroid burgers for $19.99. The tone remains unmistakably Obsidian, sardonic, absurd, and unnervingly plausible. Your character, once again a semi-custom space adventurer with a knack for violence and questionable ethics, finds themselves in the middle of a cold war between Auntie's Choice, a mega burger of Spacer's Choice and Auntie Cleo's, and the Protectorate, Arcadia's not-so-benevolent governing body. And your job is to fix a rift that might annihilate the entire system if the bureaucracy doesn't do it first. The premise is vintage Obsidian, high stakes wrapped in red tape. Where The Outer Worlds 1 leaned heavy on parody, the sequel takes a more grounded approach. The jokes are still biting, like your crewmates casually mention that a planet's about to explode in 6 to 8 years, so no rush. But the story beneath them has, I feel, more emotional weight. It's less slapstick, more social commentary. It's like Office Space, but with plasma rifles. The most noticeable change this time around is tone. The humor hasn't gone, but the sequel's writing aims higher. There are no more endless punchlines that undercut every serious moment. In their place, we have moral gray zones that actually make you pause before pulling the trigger. Arcadia's politics are complex, and the factions are far more than just good or evil caricatures. You'll spend much of the game deciding which flavor of corruption you can live with, which does eerily give off real-life vibes. But in The Outer Worlds 2, the choice is between the authoritarian Protectorate or the hyper-capitalist Auntie's Choice. Both sides make compelling arguments, both are terrible, and that tension is where The Outer Worlds 2 shines brightest. That said though, it takes a while to get there. The first act drags with a revenge storyline that feels disconnected from the larger narrative. It's serviceable, but compared to the razor-sharp intrigue of the mid-game, it's kind of like wading through a company orientation before the real work starts. But once you hit that second act though, the pacing does lock in. Political conspiracies, double agents, and ethical dilemmas, all handled with that trademark Obsidian bite, make the back half of the game easily the best they've written since Fallout New Vegas. Combat in The Outer Worlds 1 was fine. You shoot things, they die, and the guns make noise. But this time, Obsidian actually makes shooting feel satisfying. There's weight, there's impact, and yes, even a little bit of style. Double jumps and slides give encounters a kinetic flow that's closer to Destiny than Fallout. And the expanded arsenal means there's finally some genuine experimentation to be had. I found everything from a stealth shotgun that vaporizes enemies without a trace, to a revolver that grows stronger with every kill it's binging on XP. But still, this is not a shooter-first game. The AI remains predictable, unfortunately, and the enemy variety is criminally limited. You'll fight the same handful of alien species, across multiple planets until they start to blend together. Raptolodons, remember those dinosaur bulldog things from the first game? Yeah, they're back. And you'll see enough of them to consider starting a conservation effort. Exploration is better though. Each planet does feel distinct, from frozen monasteries to dense jungles and neon-stained outposts. But enemy repetition aside, it's the kind of world design that makes you want to check every corner, not because the map says so, but because the environmental storytelling keeps rewarding curiosity. Where the Outer Worlds 2 really flexes its RPG muscle is in its character system. So you get 2 skill points per level to spread across a dozen stats. Things like leadership, persuasion, stealth, engineering. It forces actual commitment. There's no jack of all trades here. Every build feels genuinely distinct. Perks still return, but the real twist is the flaw system. Your bad habits literally become gameplay modifiers. Steal too much and you might develop kleptomania, which gives better loot prices, funnily enough, but it also makes you accidentally steal in public. Skip dialogue too often, and you unlock foot-in-mouth syndrome, a flaw that rushes every conversation timer, forcing quick and often terrible choices. It's funny, it's kind of brilliant, and it's occasionally really annoying. These flaws are permanent, and while they can ruin a playthrough if you're truly reckless, they also make it deeply personal, and I like that. The system turns your mistakes into character history. It's a subtle but very powerful way of reinforcing roleplay. If there's one area where The Outer Worlds 2 genuinely surpasses New Vegas, it's companions. You recruit 6 of them, each tied to a specific faction, and all are more fleshed out than the cardboard archetypes of the first game. Tristan is a bruiser with a badge, a self-righteous enforcer whose idea of justice would make Judge Dredd blush. Ans, a capitalist medic, treats every injury like a sales opportunity, and their constant bickering, their philosophical clashes, and occasional moments of vulnerability make them feel alive in a way Obsidian companions haven't in years. And what's even better is how integrated they are into the narrative. Every major faction choice reverberates through your crew, forcing you to weigh loyalty against ideology. They're not just moral barometers, they react. Betray someone they believe in and they might leave, for good. Help them grow and their worldview shifts with you. It's a dynamic, evolving relationship system that makes the galaxy feel genuinely responsive. Still, there's one glaring omission: no romance. And for a studio that writes interpersonal tension so well, it's honestly kind of baffling that you can't pursue relationships beyond friendship or ideological alignment. It's not a deal breaker, but it does leave emotional potential on the table. Now, as addictive as the gameplay loop is, explore, loot, level up, repeat, The Outer Worlds 2 still stumbles in a few places that hold it back from greatness. First, the level cap of 30 arrives too soon. You will probably hit it around 80 to 90% of the main story, and finishing quests without earning XP feels like working overtime for free. The game's fast travel system and world pacing help mask this fatigue, but by the end, I was itching for one more upgrade, one more perk, anything to keep the dopamine drip going. And then there's the mission structure. And for every brilliant quest that forces moral introspection, there's a filler assignment straight out of the go here, fetch that school of game design. Obsidian's writing usually saves these moments, but there's only so much charm a cool sarcastic dialogue tree can provide. Performance-wise, it's pretty smooth, although the occasional frame stutter during chaotic firefights reminds you that optimization isn't Arcadia's top export. Okay, so the verdict. The Outer Worlds 2 doesn't reinvent the RPG, it just remembers what made them fun. Moral tension, satisfying progression, characters worth caring about. And it polishes the formula with Obsidian's signature wit. It's not flawless. The first act drags along, the enemy design is painfully repetitive, and the XP cap feels like corporate rationing at its finest. But the heart of the game, the humor, world building, philosophical core, they beat stronger than ever. If The Outer Worlds 1 was an okay pilot episode, this is the full season with a budget, confidence, and purpose. It's the kind of RPG that makes you laugh one moment and question your ethics the next. And while it doesn't quite dethrone New Vegas, it's the closest Obsidian has come in over a decade. It's smart, stylish, and unapologetically cynical. The Outer Worlds 2 is an RPG that weaponizes wit as effectively as it does plasma rifles. It's a galaxy worth getting lost in, even if half the creatures you meet along the way look suspiciously familiar. Overall score, 7.5 out of 10. A sharp sequel that proves Obsidian still writes the best moral messes in gaming, even when capitalism is running the show.